Before we start parameterizing the GPIO, we need to understand the clock, the source clock. If we go back to our GPIO slides and we go to the slide about the clock, let's just spend a couple of time here understanding this schematic. And we have here the system clock. This is going to be the clock to run your assembly instructions. And notice that it comes out of this multiplexer here that has three sources of clock. We have the HSI, HSE, and then a PLL clock. When we have the HSI, connects to your internal oscillator, a 16 megahertz oscillator. The HSE connects directly to the crystal or oscillator that you have connected outside of the board, and this HSE also connects through this multiplexer and feeds into a PLL that then comes out and feeds back, so we can have the CPU running a little bit faster. Where did I get this information from? I have the reference manual. It's a datasheet with 1,700 pages. You don't read these as a book. You go and you pick chapters as you go. And this information is coming from the clocks, chapter 7 over here, that talks about that HSE, HSI, and the PLL. So if I click over here, and here you go, the three different sources that they talk for your system clock. And then if I scroll down, that's the picture that I just showed to you on the PDF. All right, so let's go back to our code and what's going on here. Which source is it using, and what is the crystal, what is the frequency here on these oscillator pins over here. All right, to get that information, we go to our reference manual or user manual in this case, and right here we can see that we have three crystals connected, one over here and another one over here. So this first one is connected to your ST-Link, this microprocessor to program the board, and this one is connected to your microprocessor. If you go down on this user manual up to where you have your schematics, you have here your microprocessor board. I'm going to rotate and zoom, and here you go. This is my microprocessor, and on these pins over here I have a 8 megahertz crystal connected to it. All right, perfect. So let's go back to our Atolic and let's see how do we parameterize those registers and see what's going on. So if you go here on your source, you have a systems.c file. Double click on that, and I'm going to expand. And this one talks a little bit about the system's clock configuration, and we have, see if we have two functions and one global variable. The system's init and the system's core clock are the two functions that you have to have access to that system core clock, and the variable where you store how fast is your program running. Here gives you a little bit of directions what happens in terms of boot time, in terms of what is it going to choose, the HSI or the HSE or the PLL. And then if we keep scrolling down here, we can see that the software is choosing the PLL and is doing, let me just put it here so we can see the number of zeros, setting up the clock, the system clock, to run at 168 megahertz. The HSE, so the external, is connected to 8 megahertz. So everything is fine here. All right, so let's see and confirm if this is running properly. So we are going to call this system clock update function because it's going to update that variable. Let's go to our main and let's put it here. One second here. All right, and then I'm going to copy this variable. I'm going to compile, so come out here, compile. Enters my debug mode, and I'm going here on the top and I'm going to select these expressions because that variable is not a local variable that is defined on your .c. So I press expressions. You're going to add a new expression. So let me remove this one, add expression, copy, and you will have access to that variable. It has a value already inside. Let's just update it by run that function. So step over, and we go here and we see that we have 1 2 3 1 2 3. So it's running at 168 megahertz per instruction. I come out. Perfect. I know it's running at that speed. So now I know how fast is my CPU running. So I go back so we can visualize a little bit what's going on. The system clock is now running at 168 megahertz, and it's coming from your 8 megahertz crystal. That feeds inside of this multiplexer. This PLL comes out of the PLL, it goes up and feeds to your system.